An 84-year-old woman vanished from her home in Arizona in the middle of the night. Her name is Nancy Guthrie. She is the mother of Savannah Guthrie, a nationally recognized journalist and co-anchor of NBC's Today Show, watched by millions across the United States each morning. Within hours, what began as a missing person case became something else. Online speculation spread rapidly. Theories, accusations, and unverified claims. But beyond that noise, investigators are focused on evidence, timelines, and verifiable data. This is not a story built on speculation. This is a reconstruction based on publicly discussed details, investigative reporting, and statements from authorities. On the evening of January 31st, Nancy Guthrie spent time with family, a routine moment that, at the time, appeared entirely ordinary. At approximately 9:48 p.m., she was driven back to her home in the Tucson area. By 9:50 p.m., the garage door was confirmed closed. That moment is the last publicly referenced time Nancy Guthrie was known to be safe. What follows is a narrow and critical window of time, one that investigators are now working to understand in detail. Nancy Guthrie was known to follow a consistent morning routine. Each day she would join a virtual prayer gathering, a quiet personal ritual that connected her with others. On the morning of February 1st, she did not appear. For those who knew her routine, that absence was immediately unusual. What began as a missed routine quickly became concern. And by later that day, Nancy Guthrie was reported missing. As investigators began reviewing the timeline, investigative discussions have referenced early morning activity, including possible disruption to a home security system, and a digital disconnection linked to a device associated with Nancy Guthrie. These details form part of the timeline being examined, but their full significance has not been publicly confirmed. Another element receiving attention is a vehicle captured on surveillance cameras in the surrounding area during the early morning hours. Some analyses suggest its timing may align with other data points under review. Authorities have not publicly confirmed the role or significance of this vehicle. What is clear is that this investigation involves the careful review of large volumes of data, surveillance footage, movement patterns, and communication records. But even with advanced tools, cases like this rarely move forward in isolation. Breakthroughs often come from ordinary people, noticing something that didn't seem important at the time. Investigators and the Guthrie family are asking the public to do something very specific: to search their digital memory. Security cameras, dash cams, messages, conversations. A detail that seemed ordinary could be the missing piece. To emphasize how critical this moment is, a total reward of up to $1.1 million has now been offered, including $1 million from the Guthrie family, along with an additional reward from the FBI, for information that could lead to Nancy Guthrie's recovery or help investigators move the case forward. This is not just a reward. It is a signal of urgency. The internet will continue to speculate. But here, we wait for the facts.
Investigators in Arizona are bringing in some new tools in the search for Nancy Guthrie today. In the race to identify the masked and armed individual captured on Nancy's doorbell camera, they now have a forensic height camera involved on the scene at Nancy's house. That's used to measure somebody's height from a video or photo. Pima County Sheriff, meantime, now asking neighbors who live within a 2-mile radius for any footage that includes cars or vehicle traffic, pedestrians, or anything that looks out of the ordinary. And this just in from TMZ as well. New video said to be on the FBI's radar of a man with a couple of backpacks, 2 backpacks. They say was shot at 1:52 in the morning, about 5 miles from Nancy's home. Back now to senior national correspondent Brian Enton, who's live once again in Tucson with this and more. What are you following, Brian?
Yeah, I want to take a look at that new video that's been obtained again from a Ring camera, because this is new and it's interesting when you really look at it closely. It's from about 5 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's house, and you see a man there. He's got a backpack on. Remember, the guy who came to Nancy's house had a backpack on. His face is not covered, and we've blurred the face because police haven't said that this person is involved at all. But we know that the sheriff's office has the video and is looking into the video. But you see him go up to a gate. It looks suspicious. He kind of goes near a trash can, is looking around, and then walks away. But this is 5 miles away again from Nancy's house, and it's shot around the same time, at least according to the timestamps and what we're hearing, as when the Ring camera was first disabled here at Nancy Guthrie's house. So it's hard to imagine that this person would be able to make it from 5 miles away over to here to Nancy's house. But at the same time, Connell, we know that investigators are looking into it and are trying to figure out the timing of it all. Also new today, there was a tent that was put up outside Nancy Guthrie's front door. This happened a couple of hours ago. There was equipment brought in where they were taking photographs inside the tent. And remember, that's right where the blood was found. When we went up there a couple days after all this started, this tent was put around where the blood was. But what they also had was, and you mentioned it, it's called a forensic height board. We saw them going in with the forensic height board that they were carrying. And they use that, we're told, to figure out how tall the suspect is. They go back and they look at the surveillance photos and video, and they compare it with the forensic height board. And you're going to see here, he's carrying it right there. We zoomed in. That's the forensic height board. Hopefully to figure out how tall this person is, then they can put that out, which would obviously help narrow down who it is with all of the leads coming in, Connell.
All right, I want to bring in Sheriff Mark Daniels on this, Brian. You stay with us as well. He's Cochise County, Arizona, so nearby, knows the area, has joined our show on numerous occasions. Good to see you, Sheriff. Brian brings up a couple of things, so I'll just run it by you, big picture, to say whether it's the height board or whether it's this video of the guy with the backpack 5 miles away. What's your sense of where this investigation is on day 12 and whether they're really making progress?
Well, let me just say, thanks for having me on the show again, Connell. And when you look at traditional policing, that has come straight from your communities, where the citizens are giving us tips, working with us side by side. That's a huge plus. And then you look at the technological side of this, where you're bringing in the boards, you're bringing in the forensic, all the things you see working together with a collective effort of all. This case is in the right direction. It truly is, in the fact that everybody's doing the right thing to solve this and bring some justice to the Guthrie family.
I wanted to ask, and Brian, could you hop back with us for a moment, the sheriff a question, because earlier, I think it was a couple hours ago, when you and I were speaking, you mentioned some questions were being brought up about, like, who's in charge, right? I know that, Sheriff Daniels with Cochise County, not Pima County, but what was going on with that earlier, so I can run it by the sheriff?
Yeah, so we've spoken with people who are specifically part of the investigation, because I've been asking the question for a week now. Who is in charge? Is the sheriff in charge? Because he hasn't done any press conferences anymore. We haven't seen him in days. Or has the FBI taken over? And the sheriff wouldn't answer the question at the last press conference, but the new item here is we have heard from investigators working the case that even they don't know who's in charge. They can't say whether the sheriff or the FBI is in charge, and they're actually working the investigation.
That's interesting. All right, Brian, you got to go do some reporting. Go ahead and do that. We'll talk to you later. But I wanted to run that by you, Sheriff Daniels. Again, you know the area. You know how investigations work. I'm sure you've worked with federal investigators before. What would you say about how this has been all going and who's running it?
Well, the recipe of success always comes when we work together, state, local, and federal. We've talked about many incidents here on the border directly and criminal investigations. In this case, there is no who's in charge thought because they're working hand in hand. I have heard nothing. We've talked to the FBI. We've done some support assist on this investigation. We talked to the sheriff's office. So we're working with them based on the needs and follow up on those tips that we're getting so much, thousands of them that are going into Pima County Sheriff's Office and the FBI. So it's not who's in charge. It's as long as they're working together, the Guthrie family will be successful at the end because we're going to bring justice to this case.
You're watching Truth in Shadows, the State Crime Archives, where we uncover the darkest crimes, the betrayals of trust, and the stories hidden in the margins of public record. Here, every crime leaves a shadow, and every shadow tells the truth. If you're drawn to true crime told with depth, honesty, and cinematic detail, subscribe now. Like this video, share it, and join us as we explore cases where justice and deception collide.